It only obey the rules and regulation that America will give us. America will give us, this is it, you can follow this, okay, khalas.
My name is Sharoz Khalid, an electrical engineer living in Pakistan, and you are listening to the Vance Crow podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast. I'm glad you're here. Today, we're going up the graph, and sometimes in these kinds of interviews, it requires a little bit of effort on your part. We're going to interview a man named Sharoz Khalid. Sharoz lives in Pakistan and actually has done some work for Ben and I here with Articulate Ventures, the company that owns the Vance Crow podcast. And during the interview, you will hear this thick accent of a man living far away with a rough internet connection. But what you will get from enduring some of the noisier parts of this interview is an experience of what it is like to live in a country that is going through inflation right now. Khalid, when we start the podcast, it goes straight into how mobs have been forming, how the political system is gearing up to have people be outraged and angry over the fact that their inflation has gone so high that people at the bottom are no longer able to feed their families. He talks about how decisions made in the United States are impacting people living in his own country. And you see the stark nature of what happens when the value of money decreases quickly, that you're going to get access to a person living around the world experiencing something totally different than what you are. And this is the value of the internet. The promise that we had was that when world events happened, we'd be able to pick up the phone or get on the internet and connect with people far away. And that is exactly what you're doing by listening to this podcast. The way we support this podcast is the legacy interviews, and we are now in our studio. We're excited to be capturing the family histories that people have put together, their stories, what they find important, the values that they want to pass down. And if you are interested, then go to legacyinterviews.com and sign up for an interview. We are booking out the month of August now. So if you're interested, hop on and sign up at legacyinterviews.com. Now, without further ado, let's head to Pakistan. Sharoz Khalid, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome, Evans. How are you?
I'm doing really well. So you work with my business partner, Ben Anderson, and you guys were figuring out the price of things. And he said that you guys are facing such serious inflation that the prices are changing very quickly in Pakistan. And since we are just beginning to feel that in the United States, I thought I would have you on to talk about what's going on in your country. What is it like to see inflation rise, and just kind of get an update on where you're at?
Ben, Venus, thank you so much for inviting me. And first of all, recently I have watched your video related to inflation cause mobs. And actually it's happened. In Pakistan, actually mobs are happening. Like 2 days ago, there will be a Imran Khan. There is the biggest party in Pakistan named PTI, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. They call for protest all across the Pakistan for inflation, because that recently the fuel prices, education prices, and all over the commodities, they are gone rises. The politician they are doing to decrease the commodities prices, but unable to do. Recent 6 to 7 months ago, and during this currently period, I think that this USA print more than 40% of the dollar that the total in all over the world. So it's mean that USA down these developing countries to 40%, to down to the poverty. So I think that this is the main cause of inflation there in Pakistan. But if you are talking about inflation may be not subjected to rise in the prices. Inflation is also subjected to the declaration of unemployment and the declaration of education. And moreover, the inflation may directly affect to the daily wages person. It is very serious issue in Pakistan that the every daily wages person only earn less than $5 a day. You can imagine only $5 a day. No, how they can survive? This is the main issue that we are focusing, that people of Pakistan are worried that how we can survive less than $5 in a day.
It's interesting because the United States, it's hard to imagine that the printing of money for the US results in impacting Pakistani prices of food and how much fuel is going on. But when you're saying, hey, when you guys printed 40% of all of the dollars you have in circulation just in the last 2 years, this has really impacted us. My general impression of Pakistan is that you have a vast majority of people that are in poverty, and that their ability to feed themselves even during good times is rough. You have a very high city populations with lots of poor people. But what is different about what's going on right now than what maybe has gone on in the past?
Like if we are seeing the past, before the Zardari came, Zardari is the politician, Asif Ali Zardari from People's Party. Before he came, the situation was very good, and the inflation rate is very less, like I think 2 to 3%. But now, if we compare now, the inflation rate is more than 30%. So what are the reason? The reason is the only stability in Pakistan. When the Pervez Musharraf, the general of Pakistan Army, they left. So they are shuffling, first you will rule, then after that we will do. And the main the problem of Pakistan is corruption. So I need to put an example here that how they can destroy Pakistanis, and I need to put one difference between ordinary thief and a political thief. Like ordinary thief, he steal a similar thing, like a watch, cloth, bag, like a minor thing, a commodity things. But if political thief, he thief your education, your career, your happiness, your joy. And the common this common ordinary thief, he locate any place where they can rob. But the political thief, they are chosen by us. We vote them and we are chosen a thief to rob us. How, this is alarming situation in Pakistan, and we can't understand. Our youth is not understanding, like why we cannot raise our voice to upper level, that we must get rid of it.
Yeah, when you describe them as thieves, I mean, that's exactly right, right? Inflation is one of those things that happens because a politician can start printing more money, and at first it doesn't feel like they're stealing from you.
Sorry to disturb you. I'm not considered that the politician are the main responsibility of inflation. We are also responsible. Why we cannot start our own business? Why we cannot make small industries to help the government? Why we cannot improve our exports? We always import things. That's why in our the asset are decreasing. That's why we are totally responsible. We are not blaming that politicians are totally responsible. We are responsible also. But the main upper faculty that are that make the rules, that make the way how we can do export. They implemented so much tax on IT export. Like we are doing IT work, with a ban, and there are so much tax there. So if we earn $100, we can get like $60 to $50. There are so much tax cutting there. So if the government implement so much tax on the IT's export, then then this is not a solution to get out of these activities like inflation and poverty and unemployment, like these activities.
An interesting thing about the Pakistani government, as far as I understand, is that much of it is drawn, the power of the politicians is often with the military, because if you're a military leader in Pakistan, you are somewhat a political leader. And then you also have a very large judiciary, and that kind of stems from just culturally. There are a lot of judges, there's a lot of courts, it seems like more. When you look at the ability to influence judges and people running the military, how can you as a population do that? You say there's people trying to create strikes or protests? Is that what's going on now?
Currently they are, but okay. So you know, a narrative built in past 2 to 3 months ago that there is a conspiracy by the American that they changed the regime of Pakistan government. You are familiar with this?
No, this is totally not something we know about at all.
That Imran Khan government was changed by American by putting by investment money on the MPAs, MNAs in Pakistan, and they meet also in the embassies, and they change their mind so that they leave the MPAs of PTI leave their their party, and they said we are engaged with the another political party like PML and like Nawaz Sharif. Maybe you are familiar with Nawaz Sharif. Yeah, you can. Everyone know about this. So the main culprit, whole all across the Pakistan, they are considered the Nawaz Sharif and Asif Zardari. They are the two main. You can consider them that they are two main thief of Pakistan that are currently involved. And I'm 100% sure every Pakistani, like 95 Pakistani, will consider them a thief. And previously when the regime change happened in Pakistan, and that we have a cipher from American embassy that if you cannot if Imran Khan cannot leave the government, so it will be so much serious consequences for Pakistan. And if Imran Khan leave the government, so we can you can forgive the Pakistan. And the main problem the happen what will be happen from initial when American says that give us the air bases of Pakistan so we can directly involve with the Afghanistan situation, then when America leave from Afghanistan. So Imran Khan said that absolutely not, we cannot give air bases to American because we cannot involve in other war. So that Imran Khan thinking is that and America says, and according to American, they said that our enemy should be Pakistani's enemy, so they can fight. So our like Americans say that our friend is whole across the friend of whole the world. So how it can be like American friend is our friend and American enemy is our friend. That they said that Afghanistan in the Taliban are the enemies of American, so we cannot consider that they are enemies of us. So that are the main problem of Europe and American. They said that our enemy should be the enemies of our allies. So that are the main factor that that will be affected the Pakistanis and economics of Pakistani. And that basic like every situation like you can say that if this the American, when they they asked the our ambassador about conspiracy about they send the cipher to our ambassador that you must leave, you must ask the Imran Khan to leave the government as soon as possible, and it will be better for Pakistan. So our army and our judiciary, they are directly involved with the American, and you know very well about this that when the Afghanistan situation creates, so our army was directly involved. And that during the war with Afghanistan and America, we lost over 80,000 casualties. That we face 80,000 casualties. Whole this like
Pakistan lost 80,000 people during the Afghanistan US fighting, is what you're saying?
And more than 7,000 army person died during this war, this whole war.
Why? Were they fighting on the border? Did the Pakistanis go into Afghanistan?
That our Fata region, this is a tribal region where most of the Pakhtun lived, and we are saying that the Taliban are directly involved with it. That there is a no border line initially between Afghanistan and our tribal areas. So they are currently shuffling their location like this and this. Like in Osama bin Laden, you can say that they are they was lived in Abbottabad. You maybe you are familiar with Osama. Yeah,
Hyderabad, yeah, sure.
yeah. So you know that these Afghani refugees, they are living in the Pakistan. So America said that maybe these Afghani people, most of them are Taliban. So Pakistan army need to fight to them. So in order to fight with these Taliban, so Afghanistani people consider that the Pakistanis are our enemies. So they do like bomb blasting. You know that our past 2 decades we face so much, the problem about bomb blasts and not came in Pakistan, and these are activities are not happening in Pakistan. So now the situation of peace is very good, but you know that everything, that the peace is everything. If peace is in the country, then you know that investor came, then the tourist came. So this is the main fact. We need to be focused on it. So our army are currently focusing on peace, and we are achieve almost everything about the peace. So the main problem that is left in inflation. So I think that we are not controlling this, and the main problem is that when when other countries are currently involved in our personal matter, so this will create a damage to Pakistan, and the market crash, and that so on. These are happening in Pakistan. That's all.
So when we started, you mentioned that you had seen inflation cause mobs. How does that work? Is it that people show up for protests? Why is this causing mobs, and what does it look like?
Like you are no better that if let's suppose that you have 100 rupees, and your expenses are more than 100 rupees, how you can manage? I am asking to you that how you can manage? You cannot manage.
Sell whatever you have. That's it. Yeah, you
So
can't.
how you can manage? You cannot manage. So so only the two solution will be left: whether you suicide or whether you protest for your right. The only situation two will be left: whether you quit the life or whether you protest for your right. So mobs are basically they are occurring, and they are the inflation creating mob because they fight for their rights. Like a common Pakistani need the basic commodities, not they do not need a luxury life. They need a two time meal only. You are getting my point?
So you're saying that they really view themselves as at the point where we either get the government to change or do something about this, or we're dead.
Yeah, you know that only possible solution is that if we increase our exports, so the dollar rate that is around about currently 212, 212 rupees. $1 is for 212 rupees. So you know that everything we buy from outside is in we are trading with the dollars. So if the dollar price increases, so it's mean that the commodity, the basic items that people are using will also increase. Like you can say that a basic floor in previous government, the floor rate was 800. Now it's 1400. You know that. And if the rate of bills, electricity and gas, the bills are currently rising. First, in initial previous government, the rate was 13 rupees per unit. Now it's around about 38 rupees per unit. So these are the basic things that we need to be reduced to do overcome the inflation. You know that if a common Pakistani, like they are doing a job, they are earn around about 25, not more than 25,000 rupees. And you know that my neighbor, he receive a bill of 32,000. His income is 25,000, and he received the bill of 32,000. You can imagine how they can manage. He has a seven children, one wife. Total they are 9. So whether they pay bill or whether they try to eat. What, you know, this is the alarming situation in Pakistan. So we are very worried, and
And how like, is it in a crisis mode right now, or are you saying it will become a crisis soon?
it is currently, it is currently a crisis. It is a currently crisis that are, that are flowing throughout the Pakistan.
We know nothing at all about this in the US, right? Like, no matter how much you're following what's going on in the wider world, all we hear about are what's going on in Europe, or the battle between Russia and the Ukraine. But people's countries suffering from the inflation prompted by the way the US treated the dollar is not something people are talking about here.
I need to add one thing more, that after when the COVID impact was down, was getting down. After that, Ukraine and Russian, the war started, and that is the major reason all across the world the inflation rose. I think in American, I have read about the American, the commodities prices in America also rise. The gas prices and fuel prices in American also rises. So inflation, this war inflate all the the subcontinent, whether it is in Asia, whether in Arab, and whether it is in Europe. So how that Russia, they are currently talking with Imran Khan that you can buy the petrol or diesel or these fuel items in lesser price. But that how can I tell you that American, you know, American push pressure on Pakistan that do not buy anything from Russia. You know that is the main problem. They said that Russia is our enemy. Like American said that Russia is our enemy, so it could be enemy of Pakistan also. That they do not want that Pakistan will trade to America or trade with Russia or Iran. So that is the main problem.
And do you think that it's possible that Pakistan would say, you know what, the United States, you've not been our friend. Our problems are so bad that we're going to go out and buy from Russia? Do you think that that's a possibility?
That the only possible solution, that if we are slave, then we cannot buy. If we are independent, then we can buy. you know the currently
Wow.
government is slave. Literally, it's a slave. It only obey the rules and regulation that America will give us. America will give us, this is it, you can follow this, okay, khalas.
Well, and that's kind of a function of how powerful your military is. And the United States gives a lot of money to your military. So if all of a sudden that military aid stopped coming, then the people that are in charge in your country would come out of power. And that's probably not something that they want. So willing to enslave their population in order that they
No,
stay in
you are
power.
talking about that America gave aid to us in previous years.
Well, I mean, my understanding is that we sell a lot of military armaments to Pakistan, and that we definitely prop up the military there, which then makes it so the people that are in charge, which is largely done by the military, they want to stay there.
Previous 2 decades, the damage in Pakistan was more than 150 billion. But America, I think, only gave us around about 20 billion or 25 million. I'm not sure, but round about this. So if you lost 150 billion, so someone gives you a 20 billion, that okay, you can take it as a gesture. So no, when the meeting, sometime the meeting held, and the some conversation leak between the American authorities and Pakistani authorities. So American will also say that we are paying for you. You can war with these terrorism. You can war. Or yes, we can. We are currently involved in this. That we are currently demolishing the terrorism throughout the country. So it doesn't mean that that America give us a aid to fight for them. So that's Imran Khan. He told throughout the parliament that. If someone gave you 10, suppose round about $10, and he said that you can play with us, okay, play with us, and we will fight together. But you know that Imran Khan, in addition, also told that America will did more than 400 drones in Pakistan, and they kill Pakistani, innocent Pakistanis. 400 drones. How you can
They fly drones in the United States, flies drones in Pakistan and drops
they drop
bombs on them.
more than 400 drones to innocent people. You search, you
I
search,
the,
you will see that so much like round about I'm sure more than this 80,000 casualties happen previous 2 decades.
I think that if I were in your position and I felt like the another country was, harming us financially and bombing us and costing us money, I think that I would not want to talk with somebody like me, right? I would think, hey, you're an American, you're doing this too. How do you feel about regular
No,
Americans?
listen, I'm just specific for government. If you think that I'm asking that or I am telling you that Americans do, I'm not. I'm saying that maybe government official like Bush, you George W. Bush. From the Bush, these casualties happen, and drones attack, and that. Terrorists rose up after 9/11. You know better that after 9/11 this all situation was happened, and now I think that the situation is good. When after they leave from Afghanistan, the peace in Afghanistan is currently good, but unfortunately, like yesterday, the earthquake happened there, and more than 1,000 casualties happened in Afghanistan. You didn't know?
I don't know. No, none of
Yeah, you
this.
can search.
None
More
of
than
this.
1,000 casualties
None of this.
happened there, and Pakistan sent an aid, and so other countries also send aid there. So they are below the poverty line. You know that after when the American leave, you know that there is no infrastructure in Afghanistan. You know that we can relate them also. They are our brother. We can relate Afghanistan and Pakistan equally, because we are similar facing the situation that in Afghanistan previously, and now they are here in Pakistan. But I think that we need to stop this war, because if war will not stop, then we do not focusing on other issues.
What is your sense for why Russia attacked the Ukraine?
If you can go to previous year, you know that Russia subjectively told American that your NATO is currently increasing to our border, and they are currently increasing to our border like Ukraine. And Russia told American that you do not enter in this Ukraine. So American, the policy in American is do not change. Do not the Americans say that no. If you can stop through one thing, we can do this, and they enter the Ukraine. So you know that Russia feel insecure, and they defend their land. So I think that
And
it is that the so many death happen in Ukraine. We also condemn this, but the American should think, and Joe Biden should think that if these deaths are happening, so why they cannot stop their activities of NATO in Ukraine? Just go back, that will be situation is solving. But they are sending military items and military arms to the Ukrainians to fight. So who which is the damage? Like Russia is facing the damage, and Ukraine is facing the damage. What about American are currently in their home, and they are watching the movie like this, like oh good good, like this, like don't destruction happening in Russia and Ukraine only. you know is there is any effect in American? No, I think no. Like only
no, I
inflation
mean,
happening,
and
but other than this, nothing.
yeah, and I think that when you listen to the politicians here in the United States, what they say is, look at what's happened to our gas prices. This is Russia's fault. Look at what's happened to our food prices. This is Russia's fault. And so the inflation is being blamed on them, but there's very little conversation about how much money was printed and how they treated COVID. There were many things that went on. Like, did you know that in the United States during COVID, if you owned an apartment building and your people stopped paying, the government said you're not allowed to kick them out of their apartment. And so you had people that just stopped paying rent. Well, maybe they needed that. Maybe they were so poor they wouldn't have a place to live. But that costs things, right? And so the government would say, "Don't worry, landlords, we'll pay you money to if they don't pay you." And it's just, there's so many things that have happened in our country that are so different than what would have happened maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, that Americans are watching the movie, but they have no idea why
Now,
things are
I
happening
have
the
a
way that
question to
they're
you that
happening.
who is the responsible for increasing the gas prices and these commodities? Like after the war started between Russia and Ukraine. So who is responsible behind this war? Could you think that who is responsible for this war?
I mean, I believe that Russia is not crazy. So in the United States, they will say, "Oh, we support the Ukraine." They fly Ukrainian flags. They say Russia's terrible. But when I listen to the speeches by Putin and what he's saying, look, not only have you continued to put armaments on our borders, but there are thugs in the Ukraine that want to control the region right between the Ukraine and Russia. And they did some pretty terrible things. And the United States kept propping up those governments. And so when Russia attacked the Ukraine, it was not, with clean hands that the United States sits there and judges them. They played a role in this. And I think that the Ukraine-Russia situation, as far as the gas prices, are only one tiny piece of why our gas prices are going up. We have refineries. We haven't built a new refinery in the United States since the 1970s. We've made it so you're not allowed to bring oil in from Canada via pipeline. You're not allowed to move gas from port to port inside of the United States by ship. You have to put it all by truck. There's just many, many things that don't make any sense at all unless you're a politician being able to extract value out of it.
Russia is, just defend their boundary line. They do not want that NATO will directly involve with their, boundary line. They are insecure, so that's why they are just defending their, their homeland. So, as far you are concerning the gas prices, you know that if the Americans are currently ban their cards, their assets in other countries of Russia, so how they can, manage their expenses? So that's why they increases the gas prices, and they searching for new clients for their gases. So Sri Lanka also buy the gas from, I think, Russia, and India also. So my question is that why they are stop Pakistan to buy these commodities from Russia? India also buy, whole Asia also buy from the Russia. Then, but the more important thing that America also asked the Pakistan that do not trade with Russia, do not trade with Russia, and that is the main consequence of Pakistan towards the Americans.
When the United States came off of the gold standard, right? It used to be that if you wanted to print $1, you had to have the equivalent amount in gold. When they got rid of that, and then eventually inflation went wild, one of the tricks that the United States played was they went to Saudi Arabia, they flew over there, and they said, "Look, we will provide you all of the military support you need. We will give you, tanks, and if anybody ever attacks you anywhere close to you, we will protect you. But you have to, in exchange, only sell oil denominated in US dollars," which then made it so if somebody wanted oil, they had to have US dollars. And the United States made a very serious mistake, I think, a few months ago when they decided they were going to cut Russia off from the banking system. And they pushed the euro to do that because they didn't imagine that there would be enough countries that would say, well, we'll just buy gas in rubles from Russia. And they didn't imagine that this could happen. And it was a terrible mistake on their part. They really underestimated why a country like yours would
I have
switch
read an
teams.
article about this, and they put a clause that the petrol dollar. They asked that this is a petrol dollar. if the world stop buying anything in a dollar, then do you consider that America will become a superpower? No, because America only will be strong because of dollar. And I think that Muammar Gaddafi, you are familiar with Muammar Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein, why they are assassinated, who they are,
Sure.
who assassinated them.
Because they didn't want to denominate it in dollars.
So
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
they are trading in they are trading the oil in euro. Saddam Hussein introduced this process to deal with any other countries in euro. So America did not want, they assassinated them.
So let me ask you a question. You are a tech savvy guy. There is a new form of currency out there, the Bitcoin. How is that being received in Pakistan? Do you see people
Yeah,
using
our
this?
young people are currently involved, and they are they are sometimes getting knowledge about Bitcoin. And I think in the future Russia will trade in Bitcoin. Because why? That
You think
yeah,
so?
because that they are get rid of dollar. They stop to trade in dollar, because that Pakistan, China, and Russia, they are making plan about this, that we need to be deal with our own money. Like they are currently plan to deal with their own money. But that Pakistan, I seriously say that if we have a slave government, then we cannot deal with Russia and China about this. So if we are independent, then then we will give you a tough time.
What is China's role in Pakistan right now?
You know that China invested around about $62 billion in a CPAC. And I think that they are currently investing in Pakistan, in the roads, in the electricity, and the power generation and power distribution systems. Um, but I think that previous government that are currently involved in the CPAC authorities, that they take money from the China, and uh, they build the powerhouses of very huge cost. And I think that uh, this is not the right way, that they are dealing with China, that they are making they are making these like electricity project in Pakistan. Uh, but if you think that Pakistan PMLN, this is the political party that are directly involved in the CPAC authorities, they do not they're serious about the Chinese investment. And that recently I have read about the article that China is now limit their CPAC the activities in Pakistan, until and unless the better stability of political situation in Pakistan happen. So a little bit they are angry with Pakistan also. I think that when this regime change happened, according to Imran Khan, that the American changed his regime in Pakistan. So Russia also agree with his statement that yes, America regime change in Pakistan. So China and Russia, they do not want that America will lead any situation in Pakistan. So that are the main reason they limit their activities in Pakistan. After soon after they resume, when the political interference of and the political situation will get better, then the then the Chinese will resume their activities. But recent like 2 to 3 months ago, uh, that there are so many one to two bomb blasts, and sorry, the Chinese are targeted by terrorists. In Karachi, 4 6 teachers of Chinese teacher, they are assassinated by, I think, terrorists. And in the Dasu Dam, the Chinese engineer were assassinated by these terrorists. So they are a little bit afraid of political situation. So soon after, when the political situation will better, then they will make some investment also, and they will resume their activities in Pakistan.
Well, this has been a fascinating conversation. I've learned a tremendous amount about what's going on. What do you think Pakistan will be like 1 month from today?
worse than this, because that I'm saying worse than this because that if you will be in Pakistan, you will observe that that the people are so depressed, and that they need a better shoulder to get rid of these like inflation, poverty. That after the independence, uh, some few leaders work for the Pakistan, but most of them, they do not. They work for their own self. They make their buildings, they make their asset outside the country, not inside the country. They money laundering their money, and they turn their black money into white. Uh, and they are getting throughout the money from Pakistan and shift their money to outside. So according to report, I'm not sure about the report, but they said that if the all money that are money laundered from the Pakistan, if it will be returned back, so we can pay our own whole loan, and we will be in a better solution situation if we can pay our loan. And the Europe and Europe will if the Europe will cooperate with us um, through these money laundering money. So if they return our money of money laundering, so we can return the loan to the IMF, and maybe IMF will resume our plan. Like we are currently you are talking about the IMF plan throughout the Pakistan, and but IMF is not giving us a loan scheme. So I think that if politically stability will happen, then we'll see that after 1 month Pakistan will grow.
Well, Shiraz, you've done great work for Ben and I. If people had editing work or work that they were interested in you doing, where would they go to find you?
Yeah, you can. But that Ben is a very cooperating guy, and I think that yeah, initially they guide me well about this. That you can do this, you can do this, because we are in new in business, and Ben seriously he guide me so much well, and sometime that misunderstanding happening, but that extremely is a very cooperative guy. And no that a legacy interview was created by us, and we are currently working on this website, and I think that he's the best teacher also. Maybe he's listening.
Oh, of course, yeah. But Ben is like loves working with you guys. So if people wanted to work with you the way that Ben has, how would they find your business?
In nowadays we are that currently talk with the client on WhatsApp and email, through email. We do not have any personal and company email. So we are currently developing our their own company. So when it will be established, then we can interact with the people through our official email. But now I have a personal email like sharozhightech@gmail.com. You can contact me there.
I'll put it in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on today and talking about it. And we'll check back in with you to keep tabs on what's going on with Pakistan.
Okay, yes.